In this video, we're going to look at the cutting-edge neuroscience of how to reboot a depressed or sluggish brain. We're going to cover the specific antidepressant food score you probably never heard of, the 12-minute rule for attention, and a surprising sleep position that literally washes your brain while you dream. Do you ever feel like your brain is just offline? Like you're trying to focus, or feel happy, or just get through the day, but it feels like you're wading through a trickle? For a long time, we thought depression and brain fog were just chemical imbalances, a lack of serotonin. But new research in the last 2 years have completely flipped that script. It turns out that prolonged stress and your low mood actually change the physical structure of your brain. They shrink your memory centers and disconnect your decision-making circuits. Your brain isn't just sad, it's physically injured. And here's the good news. The brain is plastic and it can heal. Let's dive directly into the neurobiology of resilience. We aren't just talking about thinking positive. We're digging into the papers, specifically some breakthrough studies from McGill University and Yale, published in the last 18 months, to build a protocol for your physical brain repair. Before we get to the protocols, we need to understand the hardware. If you've seen my other videos, you already know I often talk about two key players in mental health. When you're experiencing chronic stress or depression, there are two major brain regions essentially stopping the communication. First, you have the amygdala. Think of this as the brain smoke detector. Its job is to spot danger, a tiger, a fire, an angry email from your boss, and when it stops danger, it screams fire and floods your brain with stress hormones. Second, you have the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. Think of this as the CEO or the watchtower. The CEO's job is to look at the smoke detector and say, okay, thank you for the alarm, but that's just burnt toast. We do not need to evacuate the building. In a healthy brain, the CEO calms the smoke detector down. But in a depressed brain, the CEO goes offline. The connection is broken. The smoke detector keeps screaming, the fire alarms keep coming, and you are stuck in a state of chronic anxiety and exhaustion. How do we get the CEO back in the office? Here are 5 evidence-based protocols ranked from foundational to mind-blowing. First, we have to talk about the 12-minute mindfulness protocol. Tip number 1 is about mental push-ups for your prefrontal cortex or the CEO. We often roll our eyes at mindfulness. It feels vague. But Dr. Amishi Jha, a neuroscientist who studies attention in high-stress groups like the US military, found the minimum effective dose. She discovered that you don't need to meditate for an hour. You just need 12 minutes. So if you practice focused attention for 12 minutes a day, 5 days a week, and for 4 weeks, you physically strengthen the connection between the CEO and the smoke detector. And the exercise is simple. Imagine your breath as a flashlight. When your mind drifts to worry, and it will drift, simply notice it and gently guide the flashlight back to your breath. The motion of returning your focus is like the push-up for your brain. If you do this for 12 minutes, you regain the top-down regulation, which basically means that you put the CEO back in charge. Tip number 2, let's talk about fuel. We know that diet matters, but which foods actually help repair brain tissues? Researchers have actually created something called the antidepressant food scale, or AFS. They rank food based on the density of 12 specific nutrients like zinc, magnesium, omega-3s, all which fight neuroinflammation. Now you might think top food is salmon or steak, but also oysters and liver score very high too. But the number 1 food group is leafy greens. Specifically, watercress scored 127%. Spinach scored 97%. These foods feed your gut microbiome. And here's this crazy part. 90% of the serotonin is produced in your gut and not in the brain. Protocol here is the psychobiotic diet. So include fermented foods like kimchi or kefir and leafy greens. You're essentially fertilizing the garden that grows your neurotransmitter in your brain. Before we dive into important tip number 3, I would love to hear from you. Share in the comments below which tip you're going to try out first. Your experiences can help others feel less alone. On to tip number 3. This one just blew my mind when I read the research. It's about how you sleep. Not just the hours, but the physics. In 2012, scientists discovered the glymphatic system. Think of it as the brain's plumbing. When you enter deep sleep, your brain cells actually shrink by 60%. This opens up gaps, allowing cerebral spinal fluid to wash through and flush out the toxins, like amyloid beta, gunk that causes Alzheimer's. But here's the catch. A study published in the Journal of Neuroscience used MRI scans to look at how gravity affects this cleaning process. They found that lateral position, sleeping on your side, was significantly more efficient at clearing the waste than sleeping on your back or stomach. It turns out there is an evolutionary reason why most animals sleep on their sides. It's the most efficient way to take out the trash. So if you wake up feeling groggy or toxic, try sleeping on your side. Tip number 4, we have to talk about exercise. Doing exercise, go for the run, it's all boring advice, right? But let's look at the molecule behind it. When you exercise, your muscles send signals to your brain to release a protein called BDNF. Neuroscientists call this the miracle grow for your brain. In depression, the hippocampus, or the memory center, often shrinks. It atrophies, and BDNF stops it. It literally helps grow new brain cells. But what is the dose? A look at huge number of research studies found the sweet spot for mental health, which is about 610 MET, or minutes per week. This translates to roughly 150 minutes of moderate activity or 75 minutes of vigorous activity, like HIIT. Interestingly, HIIT, or high intensity interval training, was shown to be super effective because it produces lactate, which crosses the blood-brain barrier and triggers a massive release of BDNF. So you don't just exercise to look good, you exercise to fertilize the hippocampus or your memory. Finally, tip number 5. This is the most important human one. So we talked about the internal hardware, but humans are social species. Isolation is interpreted by your brain as a physical threat. It increases inflammation. There's a concept called collective effervescence. It's the feeling you get when you are in a crowd singing along at a concert or cheering at a sports game. Neurobiologically, this synchronizes your brain waves with others and stimulates the vagus nerve. This moves your nervous system out of fight or flight and to rest and digest. A study from late 2025 actually showed that social prescribing, doctors telling patients to join a choir or a gardening group, was just as effective as medication for mild to moderate depression in some cases. The protocol is to find a third place, not work, not home, but a third place where you see the same faces regularly. It tells your amygdala you're safe, that you have a tribe. Okay, so we have the 12-minute flashlight for the CEO. We have watercress for your gut. We have side sleeping for the plumbing. We have HIIT for miracle grow and community for the vagus nerve. Thank you for watching. And if this video helped you bring some clarity, please consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear this. And click on the like button because you never know who it might help.